Hi, I'm Amy, thank you for tuning in. I can't believe that it is the end of 2022. It's been such a good year. I've enjoyed doing lots of book events, reading lots of amazing books and meeting people. And December ended up being a really good reading month for me right at the end of the year. I think it's partially because I was so busy in November. I think I signed in 13 different Waterstones, which you can check out in my November wrap-up video. But in December I had no book events. I don't think I even signed in any Waterstones. I just met with friends and did family things and Christmas things, so it's been really nice. I managed to fit in reading lots of books too. In December I took part in the Christmas Evil Readathon, so when I'm talking about the books I've read, I'll try and mention the books that fit the prompts for that. I'll link in the description if you're interested in checking that out. Some really great contributors were involved in that. So first, the books that I'm currently reading. This pile got a little bit out of control because I kept starting things and getting excited about all the good books I got to read. So I'm reading Rainbow Rowell's Scattered Showers. These are short romantic stories in Rainbow Rowell's usual lovely contemporary style, full of humour and different settings. In each of them so far there's been a romance that has reached a nice conclusion. I'm really enjoying this. I'm trying to just read one story at a time, just when the mood strikes me. So I think that this one might take me a little while to read. Next up, I am still reading a Christmas book. Merry Christmas to you, but it's so good that I'm definitely going to read it even if it takes me into January. It's by Jenny Jennings. I've read her middle grade books under the name Jenny Bayliss, which are amazing. And this one is my first YA read of hers and it's just as good. It is a really humorous, lovely, festive book about a group of friends who are going through lots of relationship and friendship situations. It's told with a lot of humour, great dialogue. I would highly recommend adding this to your list for next festive season if you haven't read it already. Next up, I'm reading The Luminaries and having such a good time with it. I've not been a huge reader of fantasy lately, and this has just given me a real thirst for it again, which is great. So it is the latest book by Susan Dennard, and I haven't read her other books, but I'm definitely going to after this one. It's about a group of people called the Luminaries who guard the world from monsters who come into the world through various points. And the main character really wants to be a luminary, but things have happened in her life that are making that quite difficult. And it's just one of those books that has amazing characters, the world building is brilliant, and I think the reason it's not intimidating me like some fantasy does is that it feels very grounded in a world I recognise, and the world building elements just fit in seamlessly, so they're not really heavy. It's quite a short book and I'm just absolutely devouring it and trying to make it last, but not doing a very good job of that. Next up, I am listening to The Lost Village by Camilla Sten on Audible at the moment, so I haven't actually picked up the physical copy of the book. It is about a group of filmmakers who go to a village where all of the people disappeared suddenly, something like 60 years before. It's told in the present day, and then it also has snippets of letters and things from the time period when it happened. And I'm loving the format at which it's been put together. It's quite a slow burner so far in that I'm nearly at the end of it and I'm still not quite sure exactly what the reveal is going to be, but I'm enjoying the characterisation. The setting is so atmospheric and beautifully done, so I think that I'm going to really enjoy this one. I'm just wondering what the reveal will be and hoping that it is sort of something really satisfying to end the book. So that's the 4 physical books that I'm currently reading. Everything's completely under control, as you can tell. I'm also reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier on my Kindle because I'm trying to read more classics. I always really enjoy them, with a few exceptions that are I found quite dense and difficult to get into. So Daphne du Maurier is an author I've wanted to try for ages, and I'm absolutely loving Rebecca. It is so atmospheric, the voice is just beautiful. You can just really tell what this character is like, and it is set in a huge Gothic mansion a young girl has ended up moving to with her new husband, and it's just got this real unsettling atmosphere. I thought that Rebecca was going to be the main character, but actually she isn't. She is a character from the past of the book, which I found also a really interesting angle. So absolutely loving this one. I'm sure I'm going to pick up more Daphne du Maurier books after it, and I'll let you know at the end of next month how I've gone with that one. I'm also reading an Aurora Teagarden book, Last Seen Alive. I've absolutely loved Charlaine Harris's books in 2022. I think that has been one of the real takeaways from me reading wise. I just want to read everything she writes. She writes the perfect escapist fiction, sometimes supernatural, sometimes not, She wrote the True Blood books, which are just some of my all-time favourites, with some of the great vampire characters like Bill and Eric.
But you'll keep your hands off her. Romantically speaking, she kind of disgusts you.
And I've enjoyed the Aurora Teagarden books a lot. It follows a young girl, Aurora Teagarden, who is a librarian. She's recently got married, and somehow trouble always seems to find her. She stumbles upon dead bodies. She ends up embroiled in mysteries. For example, in a previous book, she inherited a home and it ended up having bones in it. So she had to try and figure out who the bones belonged to and why the person who lived in the house before had left them there. So I'm really loving the mysteries in these books, and the characters are great, and it's sort of one continuous story, so it's hard to talk about each book in isolation, but they're really great. If you want something that's cozy and fun, and got Charlaine Harris's just amazing take on the world and writing style, then I'd highly recommend them. Some of the descriptions maybe feel slightly dated now, because I think that those ones were written in the 90s, so just bear that in mind if you pick them up. So that is it for the current reads. I'm just keeping my list in hand to remind me which books met the prompts for Christmas Readathon, Christmas Evil-thon. So I've decided to go for the mood read prompt, all of the Charlaine Harris books, because I was such in the mood to read them. I ended up reading 5 Charlaine Harris books in the month of December. Not very festive, but I just went with it. So I read the last 2 Sookie Stackhouse books. I really am so grateful to the Fictional Hangover Book Club for picking them as their vampire book club read, because I've absolutely adored these books this year. It's been so nostalgic to read them. I read the first few back in the day, and then when the TV show came now, I ended up watching that instead. So it's been lovely to get to the books, and they've just become new favourites, which has been really, really great. Next up, I read 3 Aurora Teagarden books. I read them on my Kindle, but I wanted to have the physical copies as well. They're really fun mysteries, as I mentioned. I'd really recommend these, especially if you want a quick read too. So they met the mood read prompt. Next we have Game Over Girl, which met the gifted prompt because the publisher Chicken House kindly sent this to me. Naomi Gibson has become a real must-read author for me. She debuted with Every Line of You, which was a really creepy romantic sci-fi thriller about a girl who creates an AI, falls in love with him, and kind of goes on a Bonnie and Clyde-esque adventure. Game Over Girl is similarly, I just don't even know where to start with it. It is twisty, it is brilliantly written. The main character is exceedingly intriguing and an unreliable narrator, which is always interesting. She tells you straight away that that's what she is, so that's no spoiler. And it's about a virtual reality world that the characters can go into, and they're told not to change anything in it to look like the real world. And of course the main character does that, and things start to unravel. It's very clever. Naomi is great at plotting and building in sci-fi elements. I'd highly recommend it. It comes out early January, and I'm just really excited to see what Naomi will write next, because this one was brilliant. Next up, a book that I absolutely loved as well. It was such a good reading month in December, was Kill Creek. I started this one in November and finished it this month. It is about a group of authors who are invited to go to a haunted house and spend the night there, and then things just unravel from there. It was really clever because the group of horror authors have all got different traits. It made me think a lot about writing horror, and it is very dark and creepy, and it met one of the prompts for Evil-thon as well, which was Sleigh Bells. In fact, 2 prompts: Sleigh Bells because it's a slasher, and Christmas Carol because it is about a haunted house. Highly recommend it if you're into hauntings, if you like books about writers and slashers. It ticks lots of boxes for me. Next, a book that has probably been on my TBR more than any other book since I bought it, and that is Bloody Fool for Love. It's one of those books that I was anticipating it so much, so I think I put it off because I just really wanted the mood to be right and really wanted it to be good. And it is absolutely amazing. I think that Disney Hyperion have done a really good job of picking a group of authors to reboot Buffy with new stories that just obviously really love the Buffyverse, really know it. Kendara Blake did a great job with this, and William Ritter has taken my favourite character and done a brilliant job with him. So it is set in Spike's past when he's not long since become a vampire. So it's got lots of good Spike and Drusilla moments, if that is what you're into. And it's just a fun crime caper. It's the sort of, you know, the stories that Spike tells of the stuff he did when he was a vampire. This is one of those stories.
I was through living by society's rules. Decided to make a few of my own. Of course, in order to do that, I had to give myself a gang.
And I think that the real strength for me was the voice and the character of Spike were just absolutely perfect. Because I know that's character inside out. It does just feel like a story from his life, which is awesome. And also I really liked the historical vampire references. I'll not spoil how it's done. William Ritter does it really well. But there are references to some great vampire stories in there. And also I liked the fact that it kind of fit in with the Buffyverse really well, and there were nods to little elements in the Buffyverse, even though it's from a very specific time period prior. It still managed to do some really good Buffy references, so absolutely love it. If you're a Buffy fan, I would highly recommend this one. It was great. Next we have a sort of vampire book. I'm still not sure, having read it. It's about people who drink blood. You can decide for yourself whether they're vampires or not. A young girl is a blood maid who is sent to be fed on by this wealthy, mysterious noblewoman. And I absolutely love this book. It's my first book by Alexis Henderson. She wrote The Year of the Witching as well, which I have, and I'm definitely going to make sure that I read next year. Because the atmosphere was absolutely beautiful. She just captured a historical time period, but also obviously an alternative history. So at this time where people were blood maids. And it makes you think a lot, I think, about I can see parallels with real history, and I just think it was a beautifully written, surprisingly quick read actually. It's only, let me check, just under 300 pages, so although it's a hardcover, if you're looking for something quick, dark and really well done, this is a great one. And finally, one of the only festive books I actually managed to get to, but it was a great one. I buddy read this with my friend Erica from And On She Reads. She has a great blog that you should check out. And it is a book collection of middle grade short stories that are written by loads of amazing authors, including, I'm just picking out some of the ones that I know personally and that I've read their other books, Ben Dean, E.L. Norrie, Elle McNichol, Maisie Chan, Nizrana Farooq, Patrice Lawrence, Serena Patel, loads of great authors, and they all wrote books that were mystery, they all wrote stories that were mysteries that were set at the festive periods. It's ticked off two things I really love, Christmas and murder. I'm just going to go through the names just to remind me, so I can tell you some of my favourites. She Done It by Elle McNichol was an absolutely brilliant murder mystery about a ballerina. There was one called The Beast of Bedleywood that I really enjoyed as well. I'll just check who the author was of that one. And I liked the fact that, this was by Annabelle Sammy. I liked the fact that the authors took the prompt, obviously, to write a festive mystery, and went off in completely different directions, and you got characters with lots of different backgrounds, different scenarios, different sort of home lives. I just thought it was great. I think it might be one of those that I reread each festive season if I've got time, so I'd recommend giving that a go. It met the prompt for Santa's Little Helper for Christmas Evil-a-thon, a middle grade book, and Winter Wonderland, a book set in winter. I also forgot to say that Bloody Fool for Love, the Spike prequel, met the Krampus prompt for Christmas Evil-a-thon. So I think that is it. I'm quite proud of the books that I read. In December I read quite a lot. I'm hoping that that is a good sign for January, that I'll read a lot of books too. But thank you so much for joining me this year on my channel. I've really enjoyed doing YouTube and meeting lots of people and chatting about books. So I'm looking forward to 2023, starting my book club, reading YA books like Frozen Charlotte, the first pick, so I hope that I'll see some of you there and that you'll continue to engage my channel because I really appreciate the support. As always, likes and subscribes are really helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, bye.
house.